G'day there guys, hopes that he falls into a coma and 2020 is over already. It's your boy Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love any of the posts in today's video, I want you to tell me what you think about it down in the comments below. Sit back, relax and enjoy the show. Thank you. Posted by user ThatOneGuy17288. Titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking out my sister, brother-in-law, and their kids after months of living in chaos? Now, during the middle of the pandemic, my brother-in-law got laid off, and because they could no longer afford rent, my sister, her husband, and their 3 kids, aged 5 to newborn, moved in with me. I, 22 male, live in a small flat. But since I work nights and sleep most of the day, it's sorta like they live in the flats and I'm just some random guy. I understand that kids are very hard to take care of, but I expected my sister to at least try and keep the flat clean. That would be a hard no, since every time I come home, there is dirty dishes all over the place and toys on the floor, and it just smells awful. I don't know what it is, and neither does my sister, evidently, but it's terrible. The eldest coloured all over the wall and spilt juice all over my rug. She also broke several fragile glass figurines that I inherited from my mother, who has passed away. My sister, we don't share the same mother, disregarded all of these things, and when I got upset, just told me to get over it because her kid didn't mean it. I've had to get rid of a chair because the second eldest vomited all over it, and nothing that save it. The youngest cried a lot, and it understandably irritated my neighbours, who never said anything to the landlady, but did come over multiple times to complain. I have sat my sister down and explained my frustrations to her multiple times, but she just doesn't care. I've tried to explain everything to my brother-in-law, but he is rarely home, despite not having a job yet, even though it's been months. The kids were up at the same time that I was asleep, and they constantly ran in and out of my room, screaming their little heads off. I love them, really, but I couldn't deal with that, especially since you have to be alert and present in my line of work as a security guard. The final straw for me was that somebody, more than likely the eldest child, let loose my leopard geckos. It took hours, and although I finally managed to find all of them, it was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I told my sister that she had to leave and that I couldn't take it anymore. It's been a week since then. I have gotten no word from my sister, but the rest of our family have been calling non-stop, demanding to know how I could just kick my niece and nephews out onto the street. Am I the a-hole? That entire situation sounds like a nightmare, and it's an unfortunate circumstance that they find themselves in, but those are all problems that the two parents refuse to fix, and I would refuse to be in the middle of it if they continue to enable that behavior. It's another repeat of the, oh my god, we don't want to look after these people. How dare you kick them onto the street? Now they might potentially be our problem. How dare you? We hate you. Ignore those people and let this family that you've kicked out move on to the next safety blanket until reality bites them. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole? If your family is so worried, they can take them in themselves. A small flat is no place for a family of 5. I'm wondering what the brother-in-law does all day considering he doesn't have a job. Definitely not the a-hole because you are getting noise complaints, and on top of that, they are destroying your property and your flat. They should have been thankful they had a free place to stay, yet a single flat for 6 people is ridiculous. Maybe she should parent her kids better and not expect you to just go with it, because the kid that mean break something, whatever that means. This is a nightmare scenario. No. Of course you are not the a-hole, and I hope you know that. I never will understand family who call to shame others for taking someone in. If you feel so strongly about it, take them in yourself. Oh wait. Posted by user Am I the a-hole 1. Titled, Am I the a-hole for correcting the CEO after he mispronounced my ethnic name and embarrassing my boss? So I, 22 female, recently started working at a large company, and a few days ago, the CEO briefly joined our Zoom call for the first time. We were thoroughly warned about this special occasion, and my boss repeatedly told us what an honor it is that the CEO decided to pay our team a visit. He gave us plenty of instructions on how to behave in preparation for this. So the CEO just made a few generic welcome on board comments to us recent grads, and I thought that would be the end of it. But then he greeted me and asked me how I'm settling in. Well, he absolutely butchered my name. For the record, I'm mixed race, white and Kenyan. I have a Swahili name that people generally struggle to pronounce. So before I answered his question, I corrected him, and he mispronounced it again. He asked me if he got it right, and I said no, so I slowed down my speech and told him exactly how to pronounce it, but he just kept messing it up. So I decided to use the whiteboard feature on Zoom and typed out how to pronounce my name, syllable by syllable. Example, Alexia, Alexia. He finally got it right, and I jokingly said, "You get an A for that." Then I noticed that my boss looked very ticked. He apologized and said I'm new and still adjusting to the environment. Afterwards, my boss spoke to me in private and I got chewed out. He said that my behavior wasn't professional and that I basically embarrassed him in front of the CEO. He said that I should have let the mistake slide instead of turning the situation into a spectacle. On top of that, he was angry that I jokingly told the CEO that he got an A, as that was disrespectful and deeply inappropriate. I thought I was in serious trouble, but during lunch I received an email from the CEO himself. He was super friendly and asked me to send him monthly email updates on how I'm getting on. He also encouraged me to reach out to him if I have any questions or concerns. I was kind of surprised. So now I'm wondering, am I a petty a-hole for quote-unquote wasting everyone's time, as my boss put, and correcting the CEO? I've never worked a corporate job like this, so I can't really speak on behalf of experience here. Perhaps the boss was just erring way too much on the side of caution and doesn't know the CEO enough. Maybe they just have this idea that the CEO would be upset by correcting the name? Who knows? But really, you were just doing him a solid, and he wanted to pronounce the name properly. I think you read the room properly, and the boss didn't, and they're just overcorrecting and being like, oh my god, you're gonna get me fired, you're gonna get everyone in trouble, what's wrong with you? Who knows what this person is thinking in their oversensitive mind, but obviously the CEO is friendly. Gonna go with not the a-hole. Not the a-hole for correcting the CEO on the pronunciation. Whether you were the a-hole for adding the last comment about receiving an A, all depends on the vibe of the call. If your team was joking around with the CEO and it was casual, definitely not the a-hole. If it was a very formal meeting, then you could be the a-hole here, but just for the last comment. Pronouncing someone's name correctly is one of the most basic signs of respect. Every boss or company should show respect to their employees. Be careful with your new boss, but the CEO sounds great. Definitely can, but can we also give props to the CEO? Whether big or small, I appreciate anyone who takes the time to show the little bit of respect, and the fact he didn't brush them off and continue says a lot of their character. I agree. My coworkers and I discussed that he's actually a lot nicer and down to earth than our boss portrayed him to be. Later in the email, he said some nice things, and even my boss was never this nice, lol. Oh yeah. Definitely got that from your boss trying to ream you out, giggity. Some people focus so much on the illusion of control, it's astounding anything gets done. Not the a-hole, only because the CEO was cool about it all. You might have been wrong in the "you get an A" comments, and maybe need to be careful of that, but it's always okay to correct someone when they mess up your name. Yeah, I see your points. I got the impression he wouldn't mind a joke like that, so just went with it. And he laughed, so I guess I didn't entirely F up. But yeah, know your audience. In future, I think I'll be more cautious though. Sounds like you did know your audience and the risk paid off. I have a hunch the reason your CEO wants updates is they're worried about the treatment you may receive from your boss. I feel like I'm too inexperienced to understand the dynamics of the situation. Like, I have no idea if I messed up the relationship with my boss and how the incident reflected on me. Posted by user RateAing, titled, Am I the a-hole for not giving my sister the ring that our late grandmother gave to me? My grandmother passed away 3.5 years ago of cancer. She was the rock of the family, and her loss hit everybody hard. My older sister at the time was estranged and wasn't in contact with the family. A few weeks before my grandmother passed away, she gave me her wedding ring and made me promise to hold on to it until I got married and wore it myself. Eventually, my sister came back around and was obviously devastated to hear about our grandmother's death. She didn't seem too bothered with me having the ring at first, but recently she's gotten engaged to her fiancé and wants the ring. My sister, apparently, told her fiancé that she was going to get a ring, and so he didn't bother with anything but a cheap, simple gold band. She approached me the other day and said that she wants the ring, but I was obviously not going to give it up. My sister essentially told me that she deserves the ring since she was a better granddaughter, and that she is getting married first, so she is entitled to it just by that fact. I am dead set on keeping it because obviously it's my grandmother's ring, and I want it for when I get married. Just to be clear, I have a boyfriend, but we're going slow. Am I being an a-hole for not giving up the ring? Your sister was estranged from the family, your grandmother promised it to you, you're upholding that promise. I think your sister is pushing way too many boundaries by trying to get you to renege on that and try to get herself a free wedding ring. Perhaps the sister and the grandmother had a great relationship, stronger than yours, before she passed, but I imagine if that were to be the case, she would have promised the wedding ring to the sister, even if the sister was estranged. I guess it's a case of we don't have all the facts. On face value for this one, I'm gonna go with not the a-hole. It's your ring now, you can do what you want with it. And if you don't want to give it to her, you don't have to. Not the a-hole. Your sister sounds like an entitled little brat. Your grandmother wanted you to have it. That's why she gave it to you instead of your sister. If she was the better granddaughter, then she would have had a relationship with your grandmother rather than finding out she died well after the fact. This right here. If grandmother wanted sister to have it simply because sister was the eldest, then she could have stipulated that fact. Obviously, being the eldest wasn't the deciding factor. Exactly. I'm the only daughter of a daughter, and I got most of Nana's jewelry because she wanted it to go down the female line. It sucked for the other girls, but they all got other belongings as per her wishes. Not the a-hole, 100%. Your grandmother gave that ring to you. You also said your sister was estranged from the family, so I'm not quite sure how she was somehow the better granddaughter. The ring is yours to do with as you wish, but you might want to hide it somewhere safe. Even put it in a lockbox or a bank safe if you don't trust your sister to not take it when you are not looking. Don't give in. She's just trying to bully you now because she's promised her fiancé something that wasn't hers to promise. Her problem, not yours. Posted by user Zealous Ideal Ring 74. Titled, Am I the a-hole for letting my dad use the bathroom? So, weird post, I get it. My wife has been going to therapy and trying to work through a lot of stuff. She writes all over our bathroom walls, which I wish she didn't, but it helps her, and at the end of the day, it's pretty easy to paint a wall if we need to move. We don't really have people over because of her anxiety, but I have told her that it makes me uncomfortable because what if we have some type of repairman and he asks to use the bathroom? Well, my car finally broke down, and I'm going to be getting a new one in a couple of days, but I needed some help, so my dad agreed to pick me up from work. He lives about 45 minutes from my work and 30 minutes from the house, so I really appreciate it. When we got to my house, he came in to say hi to the kids, and then he wanted to use the bathroom before he left. I didn't know what to say because it would be so rude not to let him after he helped me out, so I didn't know how to explain it without telling him why, so I just let him use it. Yeah, he was in there a long time, and when he came out, he was trying so hard not to laugh. I know he's probably going to have a good laugh with my mum, but I don't even know anymore. I mentioned it to my wife. She was livid. She said I betrayed her, and that she had written stuff about how much she hates my mum, which I didn't know. She is still mad at me for breaking her trust, but I feel like it's kind of her fault because I told her not to do it in the bathroom. I'm torn between no one's an a-hole here and you're an a-hole for this situation. I know that writing on the bathroom wall is part of her therapy, but you're eventually going to have someone in the house, and either you're going to want to cover that up or keep it there, and people are going to read it if you have people over. You can't just not let them use the bathroom. I feel like that would be rude. This is a kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for the husband, and I don't blame him for letting his dad use the bathroom. I would too, and just be prepared for a little bit of fallout. But now that I think of it, maybe it's a no a-holes here at all situation. I don't think OP did this in a vindictive way. Not the a-hole. Your dad drove over an hour to help you out and made a completely reasonable request to use your bathroom. We're gonna send him to the nearest gas station? No. People have quirks, and your wife's is writing on the bathroom walls. It's absurd to think that she could keep that hidden, and legit she could try to modify her behavior if she is so embarrassed by it. Put a whiteboard up and call it a day. I had a blackboard wall as a child and loved it. The paint is not too expensive, and a small space wouldn't be oppressively dark. Not the a-hole. Was your dad supposed to go out in the yard? Your wife needs to get a notebook and stop using the walls. Is there only one bathroom? Do your kids read this stuff? It can't be healthy for them to have this going on as normal. Only one bathroom, but thankfully they can't read yet. The eldest can read a little, but she writes in cursive. Good luck teaching them not to scribble all over the walls, at home and elsewhere, with this as an example of what is normal. As someone who suffers from terrible anxiety, your wife needs more or different therapy than she is getting, because this sounds positively unhinged. Posted by user throwaway7282828, titled, Am I the a-hole for ignoring my roommate after she accused me of saying the N-word? Throwaway because my roommate knows my Reddit. I, 18 female, am currently dorming with another roommate, 19 female, at college. Due to restrictions still going on in our area, students that are dorming can't go off campus too much. Since my family and I decided that it was safer for me to be in limited contact with them physically, I call them almost daily. So does my roommate. She speaks in English, and sometimes in Spanish when she calls her parents and siblings. I speak in Punjabi and Hindi, since my parents and I don't necessarily communicate in English at all. 3 days ago, I was on the phone with my mum. My roommate was in the room with me. We are both fine with talking to family while the other person is in the room. While my mum was on the phone with me, we started joking about something. All I remember is that I said something along the lines of, Mum, I can't take college anymore. If I have to stare at my computer for 1 more hour, I swear my eyesight is going to go away permanently. For those that don't speak Hindi or Punjabi, the word for eyesight sounds like the N-word. It doesn't mean anything bad, it literally just means eyesight. I grew up speaking those languages. It didn't even register in my head until my roommate brought up that the word even sounded like a racial slur. She started cursing me out the minute I said that. I quickly told my mum that I would call her back and asked my roommate what was wrong. At first I was concerned, but then she kept saying that I said the N-word, and I didn't even process it until I thought really hard about what I had said. Eventually, I did explain. I told her what I said meant eyesight. When she didn't believe me, we pulled out Google Translate and verified. I even called a friend of mine in the same building as us and had her confirm. Apparently, she said she believed me after that. But today, the minute I woke up, she demanded an apology. She said I made her feel unsafe and that she couldn't trust me anymore. That is my language. Not everything is a direct translation to a racial slur. After I told her that, she started cursing me out again. I started ignoring her at that moment, but then she threatened to tell the RA. I think she wrote an email to the RA, so I'm not sure what to do now. I called my parents, and they told me that I was right. My roommate, on the other hand, told her own parents, and they think that I deserve a penalty. She told her other friends and gave them my number, and I've been getting nothing but hateful messages and racial slurs being directed at me. At this point, I really don't know if I was in the right. I feel like I should have just sucked up my pride and apologized, but even then, it's not like I did anything wrong. I'm really conflicted about this. What if I make the same mistake later on in public? What do I do then? So Reddit, am I the a-hole? I really do think she's just oversensitive to things that sound like the N-word when you are obviously speaking in your native language. I don't even think you've left anything out of the story. I feel like this is true word for word, and that they're the one with the problem, not you. If it's obvious that you're speaking in your native tongue, no one's going to come at you and be like, oh my god, you're attacking people of a certain race by using that word. You're clearly on the phone or you're talking to a friend. The context of these situations will determine, how people react to it. This just seems like a very petty and personal attack on you by the roommates, and I would just ignore her or report her if you can. Not the a-hole. Update. Thank you so much for those that gave advice and reassurance. Is that the right word? I've come to the realization that much more has been happening. Sorry for annoying y'all with an unnecessary post. The RA said that it was a personal issue between roommates and there was no need to involve her. I even showed her the texts I saved. In regards to other actions, RA has repeatedly been discriminatory to me before, telling me that I need to take off my turban. So has roommates, and she even goes as far as to jokingly pull it off my head. I will now be contacting a student representative and reporting both my roommate and the RA. Thank you all. Update 2. Since a lot of people asked, I used the word nigah. Some people commented the word nazar, and while I do use it, in formal settings, or that's how I was taught, I use the first word more casually. Others have provided the words binai or nin, I believe, and I've never heard of those words in my entire life until now. Perhaps it's due to regional differences, I'm not too sure. Not the a-hole. The world doesn't revolve around the English language. OP needs to write this on a giant poster and hang it up on their door for all to see. Hang up some lemon and green chilies to ward off that buri nazar, evil eye, coming your way too for a little tongue-in-cheek humor. A lot of Americans lose their crap because the world doesn't cater to them. The culture intelligence of most Americans is crap. Signed, a guy from the deep south. It's not that fudging hard. The roommate speaks Spanish, which makes it really odd. Spanish has a word, negro, which means black. Maybe she is just wanting to have a fight or isn't very bright. Not the a-hole. 1. Giving your number out is harassment. 2. Being so incredibly intolerant of another person's language, last I checked, was at the very least discriminatory, at the worst, flat out racist. And 3. The only person making this a hostile environment is her. Go to the RA yourself and get a different roommate. Nobody should have to live like that. I like how she's accusing you of being racist while she's being racist. Not the a-hole. Yeah, a-holes often project. Posted by user Miscellaneous Me. Titled, Am I the a-hole for not telling my husband I'm pregnant until I'm further along? Hello everyone. I'm 31 years old and I've recently found out I am pregnant. I am currently 7 weeks. My husband and I have been together for a total of 11 years, and we have 2 girls together. Our relationship was fine until April 2018. I had a miscarriage at around 10 weeks. I was devastated, and it affected my mental and physical state. When I told my husband, he said things like, "What did you do? We have 2 healthy kids, so why did this happen? How did you mess this up? Why couldn't you take care of the baby?" I thought this was his way of grieving about the situation, since people react differently, but it still hurt to hear. I felt like I failed at being a mother. I had to have a D&C, and he refused to join me because he was too busy that day. I knew we were healing in our own ways, but I really wanted him to be there. It's a scary and sad process. He then told me since I was the one who lost the child, I should be the one to break the news to everyone. It was a miserable experience. While I received the comfort from my family and in-laws, my husband still doesn't care. It eventually got the worst of me, and I was clinically diagnosed with depression from miscarriage. I wasn't eating, and lost interest in many things. It was to the point that my husband took notice. He called me lazy and homely, which didn't help. My mother suggested counseling to help us reconnect. During the sessions, my husband was very defensive when the therapist said his actions towards me were unhealthy. He stopped coming afterwards. We decided to take a break. It lasted for 3 months, and in those 3 months, he explained the situation to family members and friends. Apparently, he got a reality check from everyone. He saw he was being a straight-up a-hole towards me and has profusely apologized since then. Promised to never verbally abuse me anymore, and couldn't believe how he got away with the nasty things he put me through. We tried therapy again, and I could see the positive outcomes for both of us. He genuinely changed, and we rekindled in 2019 with no problems. That's where this pregnancy comes in. Am I the a-hole for hiding this pregnancy? December 11th is my last day of the first trimester. I want to announce it for Christmas, but what if it's too early? To be honest, I want to keep this a secret until I'm 28 weeks. I don't show until then, and it would be better because third trimester babies have a higher chance of survival if anything happens. But I know that's too long of a wait. I also can lose the baby at any time as well. That is why I'm hesitant on saying anything at all. What if I have another miscarriage? What if I tell our families again, only for my stupid body to lose another baby? Or worse, what if my husband blames me again and we split for good? I'm actually fudging scared. I feel better getting this off my chest, even if it is to complete strangers. Thanks for listening. I cannot judge this. If you don't trust your husband enough to tell him that you are pregnant, what on earth are you doing having a baby with this person? There is a difference between loving someone, wanting to be with them, and trusting them and feeling scared about someone's reaction. The way Opie's husband reacted with the miscarriage was incredibly hurtful, and it's not surprising that Opie is hesitant to tell him, even though she took him back because she still loves him and wants to be married to him. I'm afraid I have to disagree. You should be able to trust the person you love. Yes, you should be able to trust the person you love, but it would be hard to not be apprehensive about the situation given what happened last time. It's a hard situation either way. Yeah, but then why have the next baby if you're so apprehensive about it? It doesn't seem right that you now bring another unborn child into this mess, given that you can't trust your husband at all to comfort you with a great loss like this. I'm not judging OP in this sense. I'm just asking why was the next thing was to try and have another baby after this, while still feeling like this towards her husband. Not the a-hole? Okay, voting done, moving on. I hate your husband. I hate him so much. I also miscarried at 10 weeks, started at 6, and we thought we were making progress, only to end up in the office for an ultrasound, and they couldn't find a heartbeat. It was one of the worst days of my life. I couldn't pass the material on my own, even after 3 rounds of medication. We ended up at PP for a D&C. It was so hard. I also had 1 healthy pregnancy before, and it felt like my body betrayed me. My husband was next to me the entire time, and I asked myself those questions. What did I do wrong? Did I eat something, take the wrong meds, move the wrong way? Was it because I picked up some things around the yard the other day? Because I went to work? Because I did bed rest? Too much? Too little? Why couldn't I carry this baby to term? What was wrong with me? There was nothing wrong with me, and there was nothing wrong with you. Statistically, 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage, though doctors say it could be as high as 1 out of 2, because some happen before you even know you're pregnant. To have your partner turn on you like that, after your body turned on you, must have felt like the ultimate betrayal, and I'm so sorry. You deserved better. My rainbow baby is 5 months old tomorrow, and I spent the entire pregnancy scared to death, and I'm sure you'll spend a good portion of this one feeling the same. You wouldn't be the a-hole if you kept it from him and everyone else until you feel comfortable. That could be today, tomorrow, or on the way to the hospital to give birth. Quite frankly, I'm impressed you even got close enough to him to get pregnant again, because I would have noped my way out. You are under no obligation to tell friends, family, or anyone about your pregnancy. This process is so hard in and of itself that you should feel entitled to limit what external difficulties occur. Good luck, keep your head up, and I'm sprinkling lots of baby dust over you virtually. What gets me is that it wasn't OP, or the therapist, or his own innate sense of right and wrong that gave him a reality check. It was all the other people. Being cruel to OP was totally fine up until he had social consequences. Ergo, his default attitude to OP is that she's useless, contemptible, worthy of scorn and abuse until he is 100% happy. A quick Google would have given him an idea of how common miscarriages are. Talking to her doctor would have done the same, but he refused to go to the source of information as well. In his head, the only right and proper way to respond to this situation was to be unforgivably cruel to the person he claims to love most. It took the opinions of other people to teach him to behave. OP, in my opinion, whatever you decide to do, re the baby and your marriage, I'd book an appointment with your couples therapist and tell him with them there. You need the support, and he needs to know that your relationship still hasn't recovered from what he did, and there is still work to be done. Not the a-hole. Alright, that's where I think I'm going to end today's episode, guys. As always, I really do hope you learned something or just really enjoyed the posts that were put up today. Quick shout out to all my new and existing Patreon and channel members. You should be able to see your name on screen right now, and if you don't, then I don't think you're part of the club, and you really should join the club because it's a great club. And I want to thank every single one of you guys for supporting me in this journey. It really means so much to me, and I love you all so much for it. Thank you for helping me out. As you can tell, I'm now happy and healthy back in Australia. Thank God it's not cold like Ireland. I don't like wearing jumpers everywhere. I prefer the heat. Thank you very much. I know that's an unpopular opinion. Anyway, guys, I really do hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you later. Bye.